The Maharishi Vedic Observatory, an ancient Vedic technology to expand awareness and train the vision and mind to focus on the mathematical precision and order that regulates the universe without problems. The Maharishi Vedic Observatory has been developed as a result of traveling in inner space, unbounded awareness, transcendental consciousness, resulting from regular practice of Maharishi's Transcendental Meditation program, and from traveling to and studying the ancient observatories of India during years dedicated to research and design under the direct guidance of His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. The revival of this ancient Vedic technology aligns one's vision with the orderly setup of cosmic performance.
Welcome to the tour of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory. The Maharishi Vedic Observatory is located in Fairfield, Iowa, on the campus of Maharishi University of Management. It is in front of the entrance to the Argyro Student Center on Dr. Robert Keith Wallace Drive. This video is intended to be used primarily as an audio walking tour. Use the video portion as a guide to find each instrument. Pause the video until you find your way to each instrument after the introduction to the observatory. The program of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory is to align one's awareness with the orderly dynamism of the universe, and thereby to tune one's self with the eternal order of cosmic life. Natural law, which steers the course of the evolution of the universe, comes into attunement with our observing through the instruments of this observatory. The precise measuring instruments of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory reflect in their form and function the movement of the stars and planets with relation to the individual, and display this precise mathematical relationship. All value of time is expressed in sundial-like instruments that measure the sun, counting the hours of the day, reflecting the sun's movement across the sky, and displaying its relationship with all life on Earth. The instruments of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory display this regular movement in the shapes and markings of the instruments themselves. The instruments also express all values of space and direction, first by locating the North Star, and then deriving all directions, north, south, east, and west from there. The principle of the instruments of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory is demonstrated in the travel of the shadow caused by the sun. The shadow follows the movement of the sun, starting at the longest length, then disappearing, and then coming back into shadow again. This movement of the shadow exactly resembles the overshadowing influence of waking, dreaming, and sleeping on pure consciousness. This reality of the three is a mirage. Measuring the sun from the shadow exactly resembles the phenomenon of locating transcendental consciousness from the state of waking consciousness. All the different relationships of the planets and stars can be located inside in one's own awareness. One can fathom in one's own consciousness the phenomenon of the ever-expanding universe. One can know anything from within oneself. Maharishi Vedic Observatory provides the means of observation to align the outer with the inner and spontaneously allow the rise of a new awakening. The marvel of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory is in its simplicity. In modern Western astronomy, one gains knowledge of the cosmos by going outward into cosmic life. In Vedic astronomy, the knowledge of the cosmos is not gained by going far out to explore the cosmos, but by going within to explore inner space. Maharishi Vedic Observatory is not structured on the basis of observing the sun, planets, or stars in their positions. Simply by viewing the instruments of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory through the sense of sight, a remarkable balancing effect is said to be generated in one's physiology and awareness. It is through the use of principles of the Maharishi Stapachavad program, which is the science of the structure of nature, that the Vedic Observatory is said to create this effect. Measuring the positions of the planets or the items in the universe amounts to aligning one's intelligence with cosmic intelligence, and one's physiology with cosmic physiology. And because cosmic physiology is an eternally evolving structure, individual physiology coming in tune with it gains that same evolving quality. The Maharishi Vedic Observatory is an instrument to gauge the alignment of different values in the sky. It is an instrument to align one's awareness with the structural dimensions of the structure of the universe, which is the projection of the structure of natural law. The structure of natural law is the most fundamental structure of the whole universe. The Maharishi Vedic Observatory is a simple natural means of aligning one's awareness with that holistic structure. When one looks at the observatory, a great enlivenment of total natural law is created within one's self. Simply by observing the instruments, which in their form reflect the orderly movements of the starry world, one gains balance. This balancing is said to occur because the structuring dynamics of the physiology, the solar system, and the universe are the same. These structuring dynamics are present in the reflection of the movement of the heavens expressed in the yantras of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory. From Maharishi's Vedic science, we understand that each yantra affects a different area of the physiology. All the measurements displayed and created by the yantras of the Vedic Observatory regulate the functioning of the physiology automatically. By observing the display of these structuring dynamics, one's physiology and awareness is said to come into balance with the rhythms and cycles of natural law. His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi.
This measuring device, which is this observatory, is so very valuable to life, if life has to be lived in perfect accord with that eternal order which prevails in the universe. So measuring the positions of the planets or the items in the universe amounts to aligning our intelligence with cosmic intelligence, our physiology with cosmic physiology, and because cosmic physiology is an eternally evolving structure, individual physiology also coming in attunement with it gains that evolving quality to it. So these are the tools which measure the placements of different values in cosmic life, but the basic procedure that these instruments have been successfully created, the basis of it is in the eternal order in which the universe evolves. To align, and this science of placement of things in the universe and their influence on the body, this knowledge is so very essential to everyone, because in a very simple way, just looking to the instrument, aligning one's awareness with something that is there in the cosmic life, all these different balls hanging in the air, this alignment that spontaneously makes the whole system of intelligence which administers individual life with that system which administers cosmic life.
How do you properly use the instruments of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory from the perspective of Maharishi's Vedic science? You simply look at the instruments themselves. Now let's take a look at each of the instruments of the observatory. First, the traditional use of each instrument will be described, and then the Vedic influence, as described by Maharishi's Vedic science, will be presented. Please find your way to the first instrument, which is called the Digansha Yantra, located in the southwest of the observatory. The Digansha Yantra is known as the Azimuth instrument. This instrument displays the relationship of the sun, planets, and stars to the horizon of the observer. The Digansha Yantra consists of two concentric ring walls with a central post. The ring walls represent the viewer's horizon. Wires running north, south, and east-west cross over the central post. The shadow of the cross wires falls within the ring walls, and the string connected to the central post is moved until it intersects the shadow. Where the string crosses the marking surfaces on the ring wall indicates the azimuth of the sun. The Vedic influence of the Digansha Yantra, according to Maharishi's Vedic science. There is a compass in the brain which enables us to find our way, which then enables the different senses to find their way and align with their objects. The nervous system responds to direction and orientation by specific firing patterns, mainly in the thalamus. These patterns influence one's sense of orientation and physiological functions. Observing this yantra is said to regulate and balance the firing patterns in the brain physiology in such a way that all physiological functions operate optimally. This functioning is very important for prevention and cure of imbalance. Next, we will discuss the Samrat Yantra, which is located on the north side of the observatory. The Samrat Yantra is also known as the Equatorial Sundial. This instrument is an equatorial sundial that illustrates the daily and yearly movement of the sun. This instrument consists of a triangular base, or gnomon, that is lined up north-south to the local meridian, with quadrants on either side. The top surface of the gnomon, the hypotenuse of the triangle, points directly to the North Star and the North Pole of the celestial sphere. The top surface of the gnomon is parallel to the axis of the Earth, and the plane of the quadrants is parallel to the plane of the Earth's equator. There are 7 parallel lines on the quadrants that account for 12 rising zodiac signs. The gnomon casts a shadow on one of the quadrants that determines the time of day, and a pin on the gnomon casts a shadow that determines the rising zodiac sign, or time of year. This instrument determines the local solar time as well as the rising zodiac sign that the sun is in. It also determines the winter and summer solstice and the spring and autumn equinox. The Vedic influence of the Samrat Yantra, according to Maharishi's Vedic science. Viewing this yantra creates an influence in the physiology that provides the physiology with a constant reference, allowing for accurate measurement of the quality and quantity of influence produced in the physiology from the movement of the planets around the sun and the movement of the Earth on its axis. The quantity of influence in the physiology will be due to the movement of the planets around the sun, whether far from or near to the Earth, whereas the quality of influence in the physiology will be due to the movement of the Earth on its axis, day and night. Right next to the Samrat Yantra on its west side is the Dakshinovritti Yantra, or Meridinal wall instrument. This instrument displays the local meridian and the directional move of the sky and is a complementary instrument to the Samrat Yantra. This instrument has 2 vertical walls parallel to each other that are aligned directly north-south, parallel with the plane of the local meridian. The eastern and western sides of this instrument contain 2 instruments for measuring the altitude of the sun at solar noon, when the sun is highest in the sky. As the sun passes the meridian directly overhead, a shadow is cast by the pegs along the entire length of the wall. Simply by noting where the shadow crosses the scale, one can determine the altitude of the sun. The markings in the hollow space follow the movement of the sun's shadow 1 degree at a time as the sun approaches and passes solar noon, and also indicates the rising zodiac sign of the sun. The Vedic influence of the Dakshinovritti Yantra, according to Maharishi's Vedic science. Viewing this instrument aligns the thalamus with 3 times of the day, horizontally at the rising time of the sun, vertically at solar noon when the sun is directly overhead, and again horizontally at sunset. The precision of the sun, displayed at those times of the day, is instilled and enlivened in the thalamus through viewing this instrument. The process of observing this instrument is said to remove or disallow any influence that may shadow this direct connection between the thalamus and its cosmic counterpart, the sun. It moves the individual into more complete coordination with the sun and its all-nourishing value to life. Next, the Nadivalaya Yantra, or Hemispherical Sundial, is located 2 instruments to the east of the Dakshinovritti Yantra. This instrument illustrates the plane of the equator and the movement of the sun north and south of the equator. The Nadivalaya Yantra consists of 2 dials that are located parallel to the plane of the Earth's equator. For 6 months of the year, one side of the instrument is active, and for the other 6 months of the year, the other side is active. One side will be in sunlight, while the other side will be in shadow, indicating which hemisphere the sun is in. The changeover time of the shadow from one side to the other takes place on the equinox. Both sides will be in sunlight on the day of the equinox. The rings in the dial indicate the zodiac sign the sun is in. The innermost rings correspond to the winter and summer solstice. The shadow of the peg indicates the local solar time, and the ring on which the tip of the peg's shadow falls indicates which rising zodiac sign the sun is in. This instrument determines the solar time of day, the rising sign of the sun, and whether the sun is north or south of the equator. The Vedic influence of the Nadivalaya Yantra according to Maharishi's Vedic science. Viewing this instrument nullifies any imbalancing influences on the pulse of the individual that may be caused by the movement of the Earth around the sun and the rotation of the Earth on its axis, season and time of day. The removal of these changing influences on the individual's pulse allows for very precise reading of the pulse by the Ayurvedic physician. This allows the Ayurvedic physician to more accurately detect underlying imbalances in the physiology, resulting in more accurate prescriptions to improve health. The use of this yantra is in offering prevention. The next instruments are the Ram Yantras, or altitude azimuth instruments, located on the east side of the observatory next to the entrance. These 2 complementary instruments display the movement of the sun from the standpoint of the location of the individual on the earth. Wherever one Ram Yantra has solid portions, the other has open spaces. While one instrument shows the shadow cast by the top of the central post, the other instrument does not register a shadow. These instruments are used alternately as the sun moves across the sky. The base of the central post represents the zenith point, and the ring on top of the vertical columns represents the horizon. These instruments determine the altitude and azimuth of the sun. Locating the end of the shadow of the central post on the interior surface of the instrument yields the coordinates of the sun in altitude and azimuth. The Vedic influence of the Ram Yantras according to Maharishi's Vedic science. The two Ram Yantras display fullness on the move, Purnamida, Purnamidam. Fullness on the move is what generates different aspects of physiology. Total intelligence on the move means total natural law or potential natural law becoming livelier and appearing as specific laws of nature, which are then expressed as the physiological structures. Both the common basis of all the specific physiological structures, the non-specific ocean of intelligence, and the specific physiological structures become lively through observing the Ram Yantras. The use of the Ram Yantras will put together these two aspects, manifest and unmanifest, and will also enliven the process of transformation from unmanifest to manifest. Viewing the Ram Yantras enlivens the process of creation, located in the physiology, where intelligence begins to express itself and assume different forms. The use of these two Ram Yantras can be taken to touch the horizon of unity consciousness, a quiet influence of unfolding the supreme reality which is manifest and unmanifest, solid and hollow, both at the same time. The next instrument is the J. Prakas Yantra or Armillary sphere instruments that are located across the observatory directly to the west. These two complementary instruments display the hourly movement of the sun and stars in relation to the movement of the earth around the sun. These instruments consist of two hemispherical bowls. The hemispheres are reflections of the celestial sphere. Each bowl contains both open and solid sections. Wherever one bowl has a solid section, the other bowl has an open section. The two bowls are complementary to one another and work at alternating hours. The solid fingers on each bowl represent 1 hour sections of the sky. The upper rim of the bowl represents the horizon. Suspended over the center of each bowl are two cross wires. Directly beneath where the wires cross, at the bottom of the bowl, the zenith point is represented. The location of the shadow of the cross wires on the bowl displays the location of the sun with reference to the celestial sphere. With this instrument, one can determine the declination, altitude, azimuth, the rising zodiac sign, the zodiac sign that is on the local meridian, the winter and summer solstice, the spring and autumn equinox, and the local solar time. The Vedic influence of the J. Prakas Yantra according to Maharishi's Vedic science. The system of the planets revolving around the sun, the rotation of the earth on its axis, and the movement of the earth around the sun all have an influence on the physiology of the individual. By placing one's attention through the vision on these two J. Prakas Yantras, those parts of the physiology that are specifically related to these influences coming from outside are enlivened and improved. The next instruments we'll discuss are the Chakra and Kapali Yantras, or bowl and circle instruments. They are located in the southeast of the observatory. These instruments display the complete structure of the sky and the movement of the stars around the earth. The Chakra Yantra, or circle instrument, consists of a circular ring mounted between two pillars. The circle rotates between the two pillars at an angle parallel to the Earth's polar axis. Mounted on the ring at the center is a movable sighting tube that is used to point to the desired celestial object in the sky. The circle is marked for degrees of declination. A plate located at the southern base of the circle is marked for hour angles. By moving the circle so that the sun's shadow of the circle becomes a straight line, the time of day can be ascertained. By rotating the bar until the light of the sun shines directly down it and its shadow is minimum, the declination of the sun can be determined. The Kapali Yantra, or bowl instruments, are in the same location as the Chakra Yantras, which consist of two separate bowls. The western Kapali is a solid bowl representing a reflection of the dome of the sky. The horizontal ring on the top edge of the bowl represents the horizon. The bowl contains lines relating to different coordinate systems of the celestial sphere. By the casting of the shadow of the ring that is suspended over the bowl, this instrument can determine the altitude, azimuth, the local solar time of day, the summer and winter solstice, the spring and autumn equinox, and the rising zodiac sign of the sun. The Eastern Kapali Yantra is a solid bowl that displays a celestial sphere in a rotated position to illustrate the path of the sun over the course of a year. The Vedic influence of the Kapali and Chakra Yantras according to Maharishi's Vedic science. Observing the Chakra and Kapali Yantras locates the silent witnessing value of pure consciousness from the point value of one's individual awareness. In a very natural way, the unbounded wholeness of pure consciousness becomes more acutely and intelligently expressed in one's awareness, even while the point value remains in the awareness. Silence is located from the point of activity. The uninvolved holistic value of pure consciousness is located from activity. Observing these yantras establishes the silent witnessing quality of the unmanifest, unbounded value of pure consciousness in one's individual awareness, along with activity. The Chakra Yantras enliven pure knowledge in one's awareness, and the Kapali Yantras enliven the organizing power of pure knowledge. The Atma, or self, becomes established on the specificity of the Ved. On a physiological level, observing the chakra and the Kapali Yantras is said to enliven the cerebral cortex, which is responsible for integrating and unifying our conscious experience. The Misra Yantra, or Composite Instrument, is located next to the Kapali and Chakra Yantras in the south of the observatory. This collection of instruments measures the full range of the movement of the sun and its yearly move on the ecliptic in relation to one's position on Earth. This remarkable-looking instrument combines a very unique instrument, the Niyat Chakra Yantra, or stable circle instrument, with four other instruments, the Samrat Yantra, Equatorial Sundial, the Dakshinovritti Yantra, the Meridinal wall instrument, the Kark Rashivalaya Yantra, the Cancer Zodiac instrument, and the Agra Yantra, or the Amplitude Instrument. First instrument, the Niyat Chakra Yantra, is located on the south face of the instrument. It means stable circle instrument. This instrument displays the meridian circles of four other locations on Earth. The instrument consists of four semicircles attached to a central gnomon, two to the left and two to the right. The gnomon is inclined so as to point directly to the celestial North Pole. The semicircles are each marked in degrees to give the declination of the sun on the meridian of these four other locations, designated by each of the semicircles. By observing the sun's shadow cast by the appropriate peg, as it crosses each of the semicircles, the declination of the sun at solar noon, as it crosses that local meridian, at each of the locations can be determined. The next instrument contained in the Misra Yantra is the Samrat Yantra, or Equatorial Sundial. It's located on the east and west side of the Misra Yantra. This instrument is virtually identical to the Samrat Yantra, located directly to the north in the observatory. This Samrat Yantra differs in that the gnomon is split, and the Niyat Chakra Yantra, or stable circle instrument, is located in the middle of the gnomon. It consists of the center quadrant of 3 on the western side and the quadrant on the eastern side of the Misra Yantra. The shadow of the sun cast on the quadrants by the gnomon yields the local solar time. At noon on the day of the equinox, the shadow of the sun cast by the peg will line up directly with the center line of each quadrant. third instrument contained in the Misra Yantra is the Dakshinovritti Yantra, or Meridinal wall instrument, and is located on the eastern side of the instrument. This instrument is a smaller, slightly different version of the one located in the northwest of the observatory. It consists of a semicircular scale and a peg at the center point of the semicircle on the eastern side of the Misra Yantra. This semicircle is inverted as compared to the other meridinal wall instrument located in the north of the observatory. The function of this instrument is to determine the altitude of the sun at noon. The fourth instrument contained in the Misra Yantra is the Kark Rashivalaya Yantra, or Cancer Zodiac instrument. It's located on the north inclined face of the Misra Yantra. It's a semicircular scale graduated with 180-degree markings. The plane of the north face of the Misra Yantra, where the scale is located, is parallel to the plane of the ecliptic when it is tilted furthest to the north, as Kark, or the sign of Cancer, culminates on the meridian. At a particular time of day, the pin will cast a shadow across the measuring surface as the sunlight enters the plane of the instrument. At the moment the sun enters that plane, the zodiac sign of Kark, or Cancer, is located directly overhead, and the shadow of the pin yields the position of the sun on the ecliptic. The fifth and final instrument in the Misra Yantra is called the Agra Yantra, or Amplitude Instrument. This instrument is located on the west side of the Misra Yantra. It consists of 3 quadrants. This instrument illustrates the angle of the sun at noon on the spring and autumn equinox and on the winter and summer solstice. The Vedic influence of the Misra Yantra according to Maharishi's Vedic science. The planets revolve around the sun, and each has a correspondence in the individual physiology. The planets move in a huge cosmic circle. The change is constant, and because of different variations in the movement and the speed of all the planets, different effects are produced on the physiology. The purpose of viewing the Misra Yantra is to promote balance between these influences and one's physiology and awareness. Observing the Misra Yantra allows the degree of balance to be measured between the inner value of unbounded wholeness and the outer isolated point value of attention. Observing this yantra brings out the inner intelligence through the intellect, mind, senses, and behavior, and takes it to the level of cosmic behavior. The net result is that the inner unmanifest and outer manifest are being observed, so balance is upheld by awareness. Viewing this yantra allows one to observe the isolated specific point values of attention on the enormous background of non-moving empty space, the unmanifest, unbounded reality. The effect is to see the gross expression of natural law and to connect it with subtler expressions, and eventually with the transcendent. The total unmanifest gets imprinted in the awareness. In the center of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory is a display of the structuring dynamics of the Rig Veda, which is the constitution of the universe, the total expression of natural law. In its form, the structure of the Rig Veda exactly reflects the order underlying the structure of the universe. This display illustrates that the structuring dynamics of the universe and of the Rig Veda are the same, and that the area of the sky corresponding with a particular planet or star relates to a particular portion of the Rig Veda. By viewing the pattern of the Veda, the reality of the Veda is enlivened within one's awareness and physiology. This enlivenment establishes balance between the inner value of pure consciousness and its express value of the physiology and of the universe. Individual physiology comes into alignment with cosmic physiology. Individual awareness comes into alignment with cosmic awareness. The Vedic Observatory serves to awaken the awareness to reality. When the awareness is awake, natural law becomes enlivened. With natural law becoming enlivened, its infinite organizing power awakens. Spontaneously, action emerges more in accordance with natural law. The intellect, mind, and senses spontaneously begin to behave more according to natural law. This is the rise of Ved in one's individual awareness and life. This is the purpose of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory. The observatory is just the replica of the inner world of laws. The purpose of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory is to gain balance and to rise to enlightenment. And enlightenment will mean inner unmanifest unbounded and outer manifest unbounded. The Maharishi Vedic Observatory is now available in a tabletop version, so that you may enjoy the benefit of the Maharishi Vedic Observatory in your own home. For more in-depth knowledge on the Maharishi Vedic Observatory, a 10-lesson course is available. Please contact your local Transcendental Meditation Center at tm.org or contact Maharishi International University at miu.edu.